Welcome to Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Today, we'll be testing whether college students can still do grade school arithmetic without a calculator. Will these high-paying scholars have no issue with the problems that are beneath them, or will the crippling dependency on calculators finally catch up to them, leaving them no better than a fifth grader? And, of course, we'll throw in some friendly competition between classes and majors to see if there's a difference in performance among the categories.
To determine the ability of different students to solve problems, we created a short quiz to give to randomly selected people throughout campus. But we don't have the creativity of 5th grade teachers, so we had to find some other way to get practice problems. Enter the solution to every college student's challenges, Copilot.
With some iterations and testing, we settled on 4 problems that would test our desired skill level and time to complete. Relying on long division, PEMDAS, and other 5th grade principles, these problems were relatively difficult but very achievable, even without our beloved calculators. These problems were scored on a correctness basis. No answer to a question was worth 0 points, an incorrect answer was given 1 point, and a complete correct answer was given the full score of 2 points. This means that a completely right quiz gave 8 points, and a blank quiz gave 0 points to the participant.
The testing process included informing the test taker of their rights as a testee, the signing of 2 waivers, a blood test, and after that, we sent them on their way while giving them a time limit of 4 minutes and 30 seconds, which they were informed about prior to starting the test.
Our null hypothesis, which our data will or will not reject, is that there is no difference between the results our students get and their major or grade level respectively. Our alternative hypothesis is that there is correlation between the student's major and grade level.
We surveyed a total of 35 students, mixed between the different majors and grade levels. Thus, the general scores can be inferred out to the general George Fox populace, but specific descriptive statistics should not be inferred. This graph shows the average score attained by the majors we surveyed, out of a total score of 8.
Here you can see the average confidence the student of a given major had when evaluating their own math skills, out of a scale of 10. Alternatively, the second graph plots classes versus their average confidence. Switching between the 2 slides, you can see that even though the civil engineers consider themselves the best at math, they got totally stomped by the elementary education and social work majors.
This graph of the mathematic confidence a given student has in their grade can be seen here. Juniors were the most sure of their skill, whereas the freshmen were the least confident of success.
This collection of histograms shows the student's aptitude to the problems we gave. The horizontal axis are the scores possible from the question, 0 points, 1 point, and 2 points. The vertical axis is the student average on the score, or how many students received the given score. This shows that many of the students we surveyed were mystified by the 4th question of our quiz, which contained long division.
For the question of whether the student's year or major affects their performance, we chose to use a chi-squared test for independence. Our test intervals are the 4 questions in the quiz, with 1 through 4 corresponding to the questions. The upper chart is for a comparison between the math-focused majors, engineering and accounting, and human interaction majors, which is everyone else. The lower chart compares freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. As you can see, because our p-values are, respectively, 0.9999 and 0.999999, there is no significant dependence between majors or years or grades of a student.
We must retain the null! Moving to our 2K test results, as we can see by this cube chart, the major students have a negative effect, and the year a college student is in had a negative effect. This combines to infer that the best combination of year and major is people-focused juniors/seniors. However, the length of time it has been since you learned arithmetic skills does not seem to affect skill drastically, and major does not seem to cause major differences either. It can be said from this that the practice you had from the start will stick with you to the end, as long as you practice it.
For the main effects, both being a math-focused major and a higher year will negatively affect the grade a student receives, and the 2 factors do not work together either. It should be acknowledged that the 2 tests we are comparing, the national standardized and our own study, are not equivalent and have several differences. The MAP contains between 45 and 50 questions and samples most of the student body of the USA, but our own testing had 4 questions and did not sample the entire campus. However, our testing did average higher than the 5th graders, and although the data may not be equivalent, we will call this a win.
Ultimately, we found several things from our data. Firstly, and perhaps most importantly, college students are thankfully better at 5th grade math than 5th graders. This was shown via our comparisons with 5th grade standardized tests and our own short quiz. It should be noted that our quiz was not as exhaustive as a test would have been, as well as having a slightly different grading system. So while it can be accurately said that college students are generally better, the extent to which is not satisfactorily accurate.
Secondly, the students' ability to predict their proficiency was the best among business, English, and kinesiology majors. Interestingly, electrical and civil engineers were more overconfident, while the majority of all students underestimated themselves.
Finally, the box graph showed that a junior-senior in a more people-focused major were the most likely to get the highest scores. However, none of the combinations of freshman-sophomore or junior-senior and numbers or people-based majors had a real positive relationship, but the junior-senior people-focused combination had the best scores overall.
For the final takeaway, we aren't dumber than 5th graders, and we as engineers are generally overconfident.
Mythbusters! Busted! Busted! Busted!